Views and opinions expressed in this production are those of the individual and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Shooters Nation or our sponsors. Information provided on this show is not a replacement for legal counsel or professional training. Listener and viewer discretion is advised. This is especially true on live shows.
Welcome to the Shooters Nation podcast, the show created for you, the armed citizen. Join our hosts and subject matter experts as we talk about guns and gear, practical training and knowledge, Second Amendment issues, and the firearms culture. Be sure to join us after the show at shootersnation.com and become part of the Shooters Nation.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Shooters Nation podcast. I'm your host, David Yancey, and we've got another great interview for you today. But first, let's take care of some of the usual business. I want to remind you all that you can connect with us after the show at shootersnation.com and send us feedback, ideas for future episodes. Tell us what we're doing right, tell us what we're doing wrong, and also sign up for the Mail Blast mailing list while you're there. If you do that, that's where we try to keep you informed of what's happening now and what's coming up on the show in the future. You can also follow us on Instagram as at Shooters Nation Radio and on Facebook.com/Shooters Nation. While you're over at Facebook, be sure to look for the Facebook Shooters Nation community and connect with us and some of your fellow listeners. If you like what you're hearing, you can help support the show by becoming a Patreon patron at patreon.com/Shooters Nation, brought to you by the letter P. And also available at patreon.com/Shooters Nation is our other community. Now, that Patreon community is the one place that you're guaranteed to be able to interact with our hosts when things get busy everywhere else. Finally, you can help support the show for free by leaving us a positive review on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, YouTube, etc. Please leave us a positive review on your favorite podcast outlet, as that helps other people find the show. Folks, the way that works is as you endorse us and give us positive feedback, we rise up through the search rankings. And when folks are looking for firearms-related content, we are going to be one of the ones that they see. So please do that. That is absolutely the way that you can help us for free. And so with all that out of the way, we have a different co-host today. Mark was unable to join us due to some scheduling challenges. So instead, co-hosting with me today is my wife, Sandy. Listeners of the show may recall that Sandy has hosted here previously when the ladies took over back in episode number 18. And Sandy, you've been on a couple of other episodes as well. Most recently, the Valentine's Day episode.
Yes, we did that. And I also was on the diversity episode, which was a really good one too.
Absolutely.
Tiffany and Akil.
Yes. I miss having Tiffany and Akil on here.
I want them back soon.
We need to get them back soon. I know that they just came back from the Rangemaster Tactical Conference where they both presented. And I think Akil was maybe one of the range officers for the day. So
very cool stuff. Yeah, we need to chat with them some more.
I need to get them back on here. So Tiffany, Akil, if you're listening, we're coming for you. We want you back on. All right. So today we've got a really fun episode, and with this new format that we're doing, we're trying to be a little bit more respectful of the list of the guests' time as well as the listeners, right? But they can always hit pause. Mm-hmm. The guests, we try to get them on. We do an interview with them, and then we go ahead and segue into that. So this one's gonna be fun. Have you got any thoughts about it before we get into it? Anything that you want the listeners to really key in on?
I think the biggest thing in this episode is obviously we're going to be talking about women's issues. And the thing that really stands out the most to me in this episode is just making it normal for women to carry a gun. Because a lot of times we talk about it in this sense that it's an abnormality, or she's, some sort of a token person that doesn't really exist. But you absolutely can carry every day in any legal situation, and it can be totally normal.
Yeah, very, very much so. Not only is our guest making it normal for women, but I think by virtue of that fact, making it normal for people in general, mm-hmm. right? So I'm excited about this. I've been really amped up about it over the past week and have had some good conversations with our guests leading up to this, just back and forth in email while we were kind of hashing out the ideas of what we wanted to talk about. But she has a very unique platform, and she's using it very effectively. And as the listeners will find as they go into this, Noelle, the concealed carry woman on Instagram and also on Facebook, is really doing a neat work to lower the bar of admission and make it less scary and less intimidating for women to carry. And she's doing it in a way that, honestly, just kind of goes completely around the competition, if you will, that are, the women that are just being gun bunnies on Instagram, right? And I know that that's a form of outreach, maybe in and of itself, and that there are perhaps women in social media that are attributed, as such, and they're really not. But Noelle is doing it in a completely different way, where it's kind of like a daily photo journal of how she dresses with a firearm, and so. Guys, if you're listening right now and you've been thinking, man, I wish they would do another ladies episode, for the women in my life, that kind of stuff. This is it. Pause, hit the pause button, hit the share button, send it over to your wife, your daughter, your mom, your significant other, your sister, whoever it is that you're, that are, just the friends in your life that are women that are, kind of teetering on the edge of, I don't know, I want to be armed for my protection, but I'm not sure that I can really work it into my everyday daily life. It sounds like such a burden.
I don't want to wear a belt every day.
I don't want to wear a belt every day. Guys, generally we do, but women, you definitely don't, it seems like. So this is the one. This is the episode that you want to share out, and you want to lean in a little bit closer, turn the volume up, get ready for it. It's a great conversation, and we go through a bunch of different stuff here. But I'm excited about it. Sandy, you got anything else before we go over to it?
It's a really good discussion, and make sure you listen all the way through too, guys, because it goes a long way just to understand the challenges that women face and how to best support the people that are important to you in protecting themselves in daily life.
Right.
So,
hey, and if you're in the firearms manufacturing industry, either for guns or gear or accessories, things like that, this episode, you're welcome. Right.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of good info here that is going to help you understand a market segment that is, as Noelle pointed out, the fastest growing segment of firearms owners in the United States right now, women.
Yep. If you're wondering what women want, listen to this episode.
You're welcome. Right. I feel like I want to play the Moana "You're Welcome" song now. It's in my head.
Oh man.
It's going to be in your head for the rest of the day.
It is now. Thank you very much.
And everybody else, you're all welcome for that too. So there you go. If you've got kids, it's in your head. You know exactly what it is. Sing it along with me as we fade over into our interview. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today for the interview. Our guest today is a champion of women's concealed carry. So you guys that are out there saying that you wish that we would do more episodes featuring women, you are in luck today. Our guest maintains a very active Instagram account, which is famous for showing women that they can still dress like women and concealed carry. If you've ever spent any time perusing Instagram looking for armed women, the term gun bunny might come to mind. And while that might be exciting to some people and exactly what they were hoping to find, undoubtedly it's maybe just a little disappointing to others, especially the women that are looking for some guidance on how to participate in the armed lifestyle. So that's where Noelle of the Concealed Carry Woman account comes in. Noelle, welcome to Shooters Nation.
Well, thanks for having me on, David.
We are thrilled to have you here. Absolutely thrilled. This is fun. So, Noelle, I'll be completely honest with you. This is the first time that I've cold turkey reached out to a personality on social media and said, hey, I'd like to have you on the Shooters Nation podcast. And thankfully, you didn't, put me in the creep folder and delete it. You agreed to come on, and I'm thrilled. That's fantastic. So thank you. Thank you very much for doing this with us.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I will admit I listened to a few episodes before I agreed.
Right. That's smart. Very sound. Very good. We've got a lot of previous guests, subject matter experts that would applaud your willingness to do some research before you just jump in the van that pulled up and offered you free candy. So,
definitely the episode with Tatiana Whitlock and the women's only episode were favorites of mine.
Those, yeah. Well, so Sandy joining us also, right? Yeah. It's interesting. The statistics on those two episodes have performed better than a lot of the one with the men. The women's takeover episode is still one of our highest ranked episodes, and I can only assume that that's because that's a market that is poorly underserved in the community, that, that women's firearms interests are just not represented the way they should have. I'm choosing to assume that rather than just that I suck as a host and you guys were better.
Okay. I'll let you keep thinking that.
Okay.
It's true, though. It is true.
What's true? That I suck as a host, or that you guys were better?
I plead the fifth.
Okay. Good. Smart choice. All right. So, Noel, why don't you start by telling us and our listeners a little bit about yourself and describing what your Instagram account, Concealed Carry Woman, is all about? Your approach is pretty unique from what I've seen.
Well, I'm a stepmom of 3, a dog mom of 2, an avid Pittsburgh Penguins hockey fan, and I'm a percussionist with a few local groups. So that's a lot of fun.
Pittsburgh Penguins hockey fan.
We'll forgive that.
We'll forgive that. We're coming straight out of Nashville Predators territory here, and we're still a little sore.
We're a little hurt still.
A little hurt.
Well, I'm pretty sure you guys beat us last night. So
did we really? Well, good for them. I mean, I'm sorry.
I think so.
I'm terrible. It's like we're kind of like rainy day hockey fans, where we really get in on, as the closer we get to the playoffs. But yeah, I just admitted that, and I feel terrible for admitting that.
I know.
That's okay. We take all types.
Right? Yeah. So you're a percussionist with a few local groups. What kind of music are you guys doing?
So I play with a concert band, and we do a lot more pop pieces. We're doing Bohemian Rhapsody right now, which is a lot of fun. And we may or may not have listened to it in our first rehearsal and sung along.
Nice. Right.
Required.
Right. Yep. Requirement.
And then I also play with a chamber orchestra, which is a lot more serious. We do, concertos and,
all that fun stuff.
Quote unquote boring music.
Oh, well,
I think that's very, very cool.
Yeah.
We had like a really serious group in high school, and I miss it someday. Like some days I just want to belt out some opera,
Right? Well, there may be a local group.
Maybe.
There might be. So
they might pay you.
Oh, well, hey, there you go.
Don't tempt me.
You should go do that. All right. So your Instagram account's pretty unique. And I think for me, the first thing that stood out was the description that you approach this one headless photo at a time. What can you tell us about that?
So at this point, it's almost a joke that I'm headless.
Okay.
There are some people who have told me that if I do a face reveal, they'll be mad because it drives their friends crazy to not know what I look like.
Nice.
It makes me laugh every time.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I love to show women ways of concealing without wearing a sack or, men's clothing. Let me get my flannel on my vest,
Right.
I love my flannel, But, the exact holsters and the clothes that I wear might not work for everyone, but I always hope that the information that I provide can help women more easily figure out what works for them in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. The interesting thing about the headless approach was, again, when I referred to the gun bunny phenomena in the introduction, I hope that you didn't take offense to that. And it's a bit of a pejorative term, right? But it seems like so many of the female presences on Instagram, particular in the shooting sector, they're marketing themselves more than anything else. And these models, and I'm in my opinion, that's just what they are. They're models that happen to be carrying a gun or holding a gun, featuring a gun in their media. And it's like, okay, well, good for you, I guess. But what's the woman visitor of their page learning from that? And I don't know that there's a whole lot other than that, women can hold guns and shoot guns and look nice holding a gun, whatever. What you're doing is completely empowering to women, because you're showing that, again, you don't have to dress in a sack. Your words, right? You can carry a gun and you can fit that into your everyday life and still be yourself and still enjoy dressing the way you want to dress. And I think that's fantastic. It's a really neat thing that you're doing over there.
Well, I appreciate that. It's been quite a ride
I bet.
so far.
Yeah, I bet. Well, so I mean, tell us about that. How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been running my page for a little over 3 years, and honestly, it surprises me every time I think about it. I go, really, I've been doing this for that long?
Yeah.
But I started it because when I started concealing, there really wasn't a lot of information out there for women. And there are so many more pages now that are doing very similar things to what I'm doing. And I think that's fantastic. I love seeing more of that than the gun bunnies, because, when I started there, it was a YouTube channel or maybe an Instagram page here and there with a tip or a holster review, but there wasn't anyone that was really dedicated solely to women in concealment. If there was a woman with guns on her page, they were either the gun bunny or they did competitions, and there wasn't a lot of middle ground. So I found what I wanted and I made it.
Yeah. No, I mean, so Sandy, you were talking about that earlier.
Yeah,
right?
I've been frustrated by that before, just trying to figure out ways to carry in daily life in different situations and everything, because everything you read for men is always, pick one holster, pick one gun, wear it every day, wear it the same exact way. But for a lot of guys, they're dressing the same way every day. But for women, our wardrobes are much more broad, and we might need a range of options to be able to carry. And if the option is don't carry or carry a different way because you have to wear a certain, type of outfit for this or that, then, I want to know how I can still carry.
Yeah.
And that's a huge gap in the market, I think, a lot of times for women. Just having someone to say, yeah, it's okay. Let's figure this out for you. Let's make sure that you can keep you and your family safe, regardless of whether you have to wear, a dress to this event or, yoga pants to the park or whatever.
Yeah. I tend not to wear yoga pants to the park, much to the joy and elation of everybody else at the park. So I want to come back to a point that you made here, and specifically you're talking about how things have changed over 3 years' time. But I still want to dig a little bit deeper into your Instagram presence and your social media presence, because I think that's one of the things that our listeners are going to really kind of be fascinated with. No, you've got almost 1,000 photos right now and over 11,000 followers on your Instagram page. So as you look back at the beginning of that 3-year period, what would Noel back in the beginning say if she knew what your audience would look like today?
Honestly, I think she'd be kind of flabbergasted. And I still am some days. I look at that number and I go, really?
Right. Those are good numbers. Those are really good
numbers.
So
exciting.
Yeah.
But it blows my mind sometimes. But because I didn't start my page thinking about followers or sponsorships or anything like that. I knew what I wanted to see, and I knew that there had to be other women out there that wanted to see the same thing. So that's, why I started my page, really. And it's brought some really incredible friendships into my life. And it's been just, like I said earlier, it's just been a ride.
So let me ask about that. I know how it is in the shooting, social circle for guys. That's how my normal co-host, Mark, that almost sounds terrible that I'm referring to Mark as more than you, Sandy. So I apologize.
I've accepted my place in life. I get
it. There's you and then there's Mark.
Yeah.
Right. So, but no, so Mark and I kind of, we met on social media, and it was weird. It's just a bunch of guys get together talking about guns. The next thing we're talking about podcasts, and I threw out the crazy idea. I'd like to start one. And, Mark and I have been together ever since. And that sounds weird, but anyway.
What a sweet story.
It is a sweet story. We like, long romantic walks on the beach talking about guns and holsters. So, but, what is that like for the women on social media? I mean, is that kind of like you were saying you've made incredible friendships as a result of that? Is it just, have you guys got like a secret network of women on social media that are into guns and you chat regularly, or how does that play out?
No, it's really, you kind of have to be a little bit of a squirrel and hoard your girlfriends.
Right.
There's a lot of really great and very, very supportive women pages around, but I had to dig for them for a while.
Yeah.
And that community has grown so much over the last couple of years. And so that's made it a little more helpful. But that's been the hardest. The hardest part is finding other women-run pages. And there are men, there's the Sheepdog Defense Project has been with me since the beginning.
Really?
And he's just the nicest guy. I found a lot of great man friends. That's terrible.
Right,
like, nobody tell my fiance. No,
right. No. Yeah. No, that's all right. It's between us and everybody that listens. It's fine.
Yeah. Between those guys and trainers that I found, there's a trainer down about an hour away from me, and he's become a great friend. And he and his wife and me and my fiance will go out to dinner sometimes, or they'll come up and watch a concert, or, it's a lot of fun.
That is neat. So are you finding that the circle of influencers, if you will, in social media, are they pretty receptive to this, or are it's not like competitive, there's no cattiness or anything like that, and I can tell you honestly, I see that with the guys, and I see the bad side of it a lot of times with guys. Dudes love to trash talk each other because, there's a lot of alpha going on where I've got to be the best trainer. I've got to be the best, whatever I am. And so they'll kind of, denigrate each other to elevate themselves. But I don't, from the outside looking in, I don't see that happening with the ladies on, social media in the firearms world. Am I right? Or am I just not seeing it?
I think there is a little bit. Now, it's not, it's not anything that I've had anyone, try and talk badly about other people to me. But I have noticed, there are some pages that just won't talk to other pages, or they won't share each other's things. And that's okay. If you don't agree with each other, as long as you're not outright speaking, it's a trash talking.
Right.
The vast majority of women are just incredibly supportive of each other because we are such a small community. And, we've got a lot of women to bring into our ranks. So we can't do that without a strong base.
I wish the guys were more like that. I don't understand why they're not.
So following that trail, I have to know, have you had any negative attacks or messages or anything? Have you had people that have told you, you need to stop what you're doing, you're evil, blah, all those terrible things that people say? Have you gotten any of that from people?
I haven't gotten a lot of, you're evil, or, I haven't gotten a lot of the negative,
just anti-gun,
like threatening anti-gun. I've gotten a few, but they haven't been, overly dangerous sounding, threatening, I'm not sure how to describe it, but
sure.
But for the most part, I've been able to, one or two sentences and they're done, because they know that I'm not going to rise to that. So,
yeah, I was kind of wondering where you're going with that, Sandy. And I assume that maybe it was just the anti-gun sentiment that seems to be somewhat common. We haven't experienced that yet with Shooters Nation, and that's surprising.
No, but we have with our Tennessee website.
Yeah. So
that was a scary moment for me to have that realization that someone could come after you, specifically and intentionally.
Yeah.
With the he didn't so much threaten to do harm as he just made the information public, hoping that someone else would want to.
Right. Yeah.
And that, so it wasn't even, we would know who was coming for us. It was just that our information was out there in a way that someone could have, if they'd wanted to, and we wouldn't know who that person was.
Well, and that's something I definitely want to talk about a little bit more, because, Noel, you've done this with your account, and you've curated it very carefully for your privacy, and we'll get into that. But I want to ask a couple more questions about just in general, your experience so far with social media and being a presence and forwarding the agenda for armed women. Your audience. Now, you made a post on one of your, it was one of your Instagram posts that you said that your audience was 40% women at the time. And, so 40 women, 50 men or other. It's 2019 other. So how
That would be 60.
60? What? Well, I guess maybe 40% women, 50%. My math is terrible.
That's only 90%. So
yeah.
I
So
don't
the
think
other
there's
10% is
10% other.
I don't know. Vegetable,
pretty high number.
rock. I'm not sure what. My math is just terrible. I'll own that. To say
Middle
that my
Eastern
math
trolls.
is terrible. Right? Yeah. So yeah, that's what it is. It's the
fake accounts.
Yeah, the thirsty men from. It seems like they're always from India, and they always speak really terrible English, and all they want to do is say how beautiful and sexy you are. That's what they do to me, at least.
So, you know a lot about this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't gotten those messages.
I get those all the time. Let me tell you. All right.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on.
Don't ask Dave to do math.
All right. So my terrible math skills aside, how has that metric changed for you over time? Is one audience segment growing more than the other? What can you tell us about that?
So I am, as of this moment, sitting at 44% women.
Oh, fantastic.
I was really excited when I hit 11,000 followers, but I love that 44%.
Yeah, that's good.
Every time I look at that and I see that number grow, I do a little bit of a happy dance inside.
Right. No, I mean, you would assume that that's growing because more women are following, not that less men are. Again, men, we're pretty simple-minded. A lot of times we see a thing we like, we follow it. So, so I hope that that's.
Well, and I do have some men who have, when I made that post, I had a lot of men say, I enjoy your page, but a lot of the reason that I follow you is for my girlfriend, wife, fiance, daughter, sister, aunt, whatever.
Good for them. That's great.
So.
That's great. Yeah, we've gotten a lot of that too, where guys have been asking for more content about women so that they can share it with their partners. So
right. Yeah.
It's good that men are looking out for resources to help women.
I'm just really glad, though, that we're not the gateway into the armed lifestyle, I guess, is the way I'm going to term that. I want to see more women coming into it directly and not feeling like they have to go through their closest man to get into it, right?
Yeah, that's true. We talked about that in the Valentine's Day episode that, you're not going to force someone to get into it.
Right.
That's not the way to do it.
Right. Well, and I want to see more women asking the questions themselves and going to the gun stores themselves and going to instructors themselves rather than, funneling it through a male conduit.
Yeah.
Like, I've got to, I can't go to the gun shop by myself. I've got to make sure I take, my nearest available dude to,
Right.
I mean, so, gun shops and these manufacturers and service providers should be ready for that. They should have figured out what that's going to be like before it happens to them, I hope. So, but then again, I'm also thinking about a lot of the history of the firearms world has been very, very biased towards the male. So, we'll talk about that, I guess, again here in just a moment. As I'm kind of working through my thoughts, I want to kind of catalog them so that I don't miss anything. No, you used the term squirrel earlier. I squirrel a lot. Mentally, I squirrel. It's kind of like, like there's a thing I'm going to chase it right now. So,
she was talking about squirrel in the opposite sense, though.
She was
hoarding,
right? No,
keeping
I'm
your
the squirrel.
I'm
the squirrel
there's a cat.
in the worst.
Oh, there's a tree. Oh, there's a leaf.
Sense, right?
Yeah,
very much the worst possible.
Something shiny.
That's right, shiny thing. Gonna go squirrel it. So let's talk now about the fact that you have taken great care to omit your face from the photos, and again, that was something that was really unique to me, and as a married man who has 2 daughters, I was drawn to that because it's like, hey, look at this. This is really cool. This is a social media account. Just at a blink of an eye, you can see here's a social media account that is it's an armed woman that's journaling her journey, I guess, if you will, and showing how you can do this and still dress like a woman. And again, you weren't out there trying to sell yourself. You weren't, you didn't, you weren't like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of the worst possible example of gun bunnyism I've ever seen. But, it's not like, picturesque desert setting. With
and a lot of
lots
them are like, where's the gun in this picture?
Right, yeah,
like,
lots of,
there's a lot of cleavage here.
Yeah,
That you told me that she was carrying a gun. Where is that?
or surreptitious product placement. Like, you know, here are the teeth whitening strips that I used before I took this photo. Right. So, but you're doing something really neat. And again, it's the headless photo thing. So, you know, tell me a little bit more about that aspect of it. Is that for your own privacy, or is there a deeper reason behind it? What's that all about?
So I started out doing it for privacy because I thought, well, I don't want anyone to recognize me and realize that, you know, oh, I'm that girl they saw on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And it's only later that I realized that unless I grow to a few million followers, the likelihood of me being recognized in public is very slim. Along with the fact that I actually kind of have one of those faces. I can't tell you how many times people have said, oh, are you so-and-so's cousin, or are you so-and-so's neighbor? No, I'm not.
I can totally relate to that. I've gotten that my whole life. You look exactly like my niece. Like, oh, congratulations.
Fantastic. Yeah. I'm not her.
Yeah. We're not related. Thank you.
Yeah. So, but you know, and, you know, just to put things in perspective, I grew up in a town of 7,000 people, and they just barely got their first stoplight.
Nice. Good for them.
And so, you know, 11,000 people is, I mean, it feels huge. Mind blowing,
right,
to have that many people following me, but it's still a tiny portion of the population. So, you know, at this point, it's more about the fact that I don't want to put makeup on, and I have no idea what to do with my face in photos.
I feel that to my soul. Absolutely.
Yeah. So awkward.
I hate being photographed, period. Just in general, I hate being photographed. So I can relate. Sandy made a comment a moment ago about the experience that we had for privacy. And I kind of wondered, maybe I assumed that was one of the reasons why you were doing it. And I completely could understand it if it was. We had I'm going to be nice and say gentleman that disagreed with some of the ways that I administered a local Tennessee-based firearms community, and about 30,000 members on it. And you know, you're not going to satisfy all 30,000 people all the time, and you're not going to do things right for 30,000 people all the time. And at the same point, when you've got that many folks coming together to discuss anything, some decorum was required. In other words, you can't just come in and be a jerk and treat people the way you want to, you know, treat them. This guy disagreed with that heavily, and so he went and used, I guess, essentially the Tennessee equivalent of the Freedom of Information Act to find our carry permit, just find our carry permits through the state of Tennessee's websites. And then
the carry permit application at that time, it was before the laws had changed, where that was still publicly accessible information.
Yeah. So, yeah, thankfully they've locked that back down.
They have changed that.
For a while
but
there,
then it had your social security number, it had your current address, it had phone numbers, it had, you know, every way possible that someone
everything that you'd put on there.
Contact you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this guy put that out there on the internet, and
he also went and pulled a copy of my birth certificate.
Oh, that was fun.
Which, of course, then included my parents' names as well.
And their addresses.
Yeah. Not current addresses, but still.
Right.
He attacked me personally because I was born in Tennessee. And my husband, since he was from Kentucky, he didn't bother to go that deep. Or maybe those records are just too old to find. I don't know.
We didn't know how to read or write records back there anyway. So
yeah. They're not computerized. But anyway, it was because at the time that was very much in the beginning stages of my journey to carrying, and I had only recently gotten my carry permit and still wasn't quite comfortable carrying every day and everywhere. And I wasn't even really active on the site at all.
Yeah, on the website. Right.
So the fact that he went after me specifically was alarming and scary. And then he put that information just out in a very public way on his website, just so people would know how to find us.
Oh, sure. He dedicated a whole page to that.
He did. And with our photos, he had found as many photos as he could that included our faces to make sure people knew what we looked at, like, how to contact us, where we lived. It was scary.
Yeah, it is. Well, and also, now I'm speaking strictly for myself, and I think maybe a little bit for Sandy here, but you tell me if your experience is anywhat similar, but I don't always want my employer to know that I carry a gun outside of work, right? And the Second Amendment and firearms ownership is still very politically charged. And while I don't necessarily want to get into politics, other people have opinions on them, and often they're very strong opinions, either for or against. And I didn't want my face or necessarily my name for a long while being put out there tied to that issue, not because I was ashamed of it, but because I didn't want it to limit my career opportunities and things like that. So I don't know. Privacy is a big thing, really, to me, and I think it's fantastic that you've managed to keep the genie in the bottle, so to speak, for 3 years and 11,000 followers. And I'm maybe a little jealous of that in some respects, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah, and I may, I joke about not wanting to put makeup on and not knowing what to do with my face, but part of it is that I don't want people to know how to find me, and I have a very specialized, I'm very open about the fact that being a percussionist is a huge part of my life, and that I play with groups, and so there would be a way if somebody wanted to try hard enough to find me, and that's something that I think about. And as far as the job aspect goes, I was working at the time up until last November for a company that's the lobby is full of heads.
Yeah.
So many heads, geese, swans, the owner and his sons had hunted. They used to organize firearms classes, things
that's awesome
for us to go to the range with an instructor and go shoot. And
that's awesome. Yeah,
it was really great. And it's been kind of different when I was looking for a new job. I actually asked a company about their firearms policy, and I think that may have been the thing that cost me the job.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So, so that was interesting and a little bit of a life lesson.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but yeah,
good on you for trying to make sure that you're finding an employer that fits. That's good.
Yeah. That's been something I've enjoyed too. Having a doctor that I work for that is. He doesn't care anything about handguns, but he likes to shoot and he goes hunting, bird hunting and stuff. So being able to just talk about my life as if it's normal with someone is really great.
Yeah. Because
a lot of times, especially in mommy circles, that's not normal. I'm not normal compared to them. So I feel sort of out of the loop or awkward in a lot of circles because I'm the only one that thinks like that and lives my life this way. And it's nice to feel at home with someone else and go, okay, I'm not weird. Not that weird anyway.
Well, I wonder how many people actually have a similar interest or at least a curiosity about it and would talk more openly about it if somebody else just breaks the ice first. Tell us about that. In your setting, so you're dealing with a lot of folks, especially in a music setting, as a musician. I pronounce music strangely. So anyway, I don't even know where I was going with that. Anyway. So you have obviously probably a lot of interaction with people from a variety of backgrounds and interests and such. Does firearms ownership ever come up with people in polite conversation, or is that just something even outside of social media that you really kind of keep close to the vest and don't divulge a lot of?
A lot of the times I won't really divulge that I conceal carry to people, just casually. There are a few people in my life that know. It's actually kind of funny. My middle stepdaughter lives with us, and her sister was visiting and doesn't know about my Instagram page. And I came downstairs and I was carrying on waistband that day, and she went, "Are we going to the range?" And her sister said, "Oh no, she has a page. She wears the guns and she takes pictures with the guns."
Neat.
That's great.
Wait, what? Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, in the music world, I don't really, it's not really something we discuss. We play music, we go home.
Right.
I used to be, when I had a personal Facebook, I was, friends with my conductor, and he and I got into it a couple of times, but just about gun rights.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not sure he even knows that I that I do anything more than occasionally go out and plink at targets.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. That's another regret that I've had is friending too many people from work on Facebook. Because you can't really go home and vent about your day and without perhaps outing one of them. You come back and like, yeah, this guy was the guy that you're talking about is one of your friends. That's terrible. It's awkward. So when you said that the place that you worked before had a lot of heads in the lobby, I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, this is weird. So what is this? I'm thinking, I didn't think about taxidermy, mounts.
It took me a minute to get the head.
My first thought was she worked at the place on Futurama where they have the museum of all the talking heads, right? So
that would be a lot of fun. I could not think of the word mount. I will not deny it.
Sorry.
No, but I really wanted to go work with you at the Talking Head Museum. I was like, this is it. This is my chance. I'm out of here. Goodbye, Tennessee. So it's been great. I mean, because they've always got George Takei. George Takei. How do you pronounce it? I don't know. Takei. I think it's Takei. Anyway, whatever. I've just completely mangled George's name. Sorry, George.
It's never going to be a fan.
He's never going to be a fan of this, right? But I'm still a fan of his. I still like George.
Me too. He's funny.
He is funny. Oh my.
Snuck that one in on me. You got me.
So, Noel, on your Facebook page, you state that you want to educate women on carrying a firearm on their body. And so, I mean, I'll be honest, that's a pretty common method of carrying for guys. Most men don't carry off body unless, for a specific use case. Can you talk about why that's a bigger issue for women, in your opinion?
Well, generally, women like to feel pretty. We do, whether we're wearing yoga pants and a t-shirt, or if we're dressed in the nines, cocktail dress. Right now I have on a hoodie and sweats, and later I will probably look a lot nicer.
Right.
But there are certain tops that I refuse to wear because I look pregnant in them. We call that a gun baby now at my house.
I love it. I love it.
You look pregnant right now. Is that a gun baby?
Gun baby. That's a new thing. I love it. I love that. You should totally trademark that.
I have used it as a hashtag.
I love it.
Oh gosh. Well, yeah, but women, you generally dress nicer than men do. I'm even thinking about my professional life where, guys will come strolling in, they're wearing khakis and a polo shirt. And you're like, hey, yeah, you worked hard on getting that ready this morning, didn't you?
Right. Yeah. You would never see a woman in a corporate office come strolling in and something like that.
Generally, no. And so,
and it's expected that we dress nicer.
Well, you guys do. You dress nicer than us, and somehow you guys even make hoodies and sweatpants look better than men do. You see a guy at in a hoodie and a sweatpants at the convenience store, you're like, thanks for dressing up for the rest of us there, buddy. Yeah, but women somehow manage to make that look better than men do. But so your wardrobes are also though entirely different than ours. Like, and I feel maybe a little less manly saying this, but I've noticed, doing laundry that, the fabric is lighter or more maybe slightly sheer or whatever, and the elephant in the room. Wait, that's probably a bad way to introduce the next statement, but
where are you going with this? Don't talk about my laundry and then talk about elephants.
But so I'm sunk, right? Because really what I was going to say was that, body types, men's body types are the shape of our bodies completely different than women's, right? So you have that to contend with also.
Oh yeah, I actually had to practically demonstrate. Now I love my fiance. He works in a place where he cannot carry, or he will go to jail for a very, very long time.
Gotcha.
And so, he said, well, why don't you just carry it at 3:00 on your hip and just conceal that way? And I had to give him a practical demonstration as to why that wouldn't work with a woman's body. You know, our clothes are tighter. We have curves. Nobody wants us to conceal those, you know?
I can agree with that. Since you said it, I'll agree with it and sound less creepy. And now
It's still a little creepy.
I might end up in your creep folder on an email after that. But no, I agree. Men, on behalf of all men everywhere, thank you, ladies, for not concealing curves. Right?
Yes.
So I guess you're right. I hadn't thought about it. You put a handgun in a holster at 3:00 on a woman, and
that's a lot of very straight lines and very sharp angles,
right,
on a very curved surface. And so, yeah, it sticks out like a sore thumb.
Right. Yeah. Right. Damn you, handguns. Yeah. Ruining the curves. Well,
guys also, a lot of times they'll have phones or, I don't know what else we used to be pagers. That's like ancient technology now. But no. I mean, a lot of times you'll have a phone or something on your belt or a knife, something that people would expect and not be worried about. But with women, you don't. You expect to look at a woman and she be equal on each side. If you see a bulge on one side of her hip, you're going, what is that? It's very obvious and it's not expected. Whereas a guy, you're just going to think, oh, well, he has his phone on his hip, or, he's got a, what else would they have there? I don't know. People don't look twice at it, right?
Well, so women's clothing, as I have noticed, is generally cut in such a way to accentuate. Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
body
absolutely.
Shape, right?
Yeah.
And so men, a lot of times, our clothing is cut to play down the love handles and all that other stuff, right? And so we have more room under t-shirts to throw a gun, appendix carry, or whatever else, and it not necessarily be as noticeable.
Yeah.
Whereas women,
it doesn't look sloppy, because if we put on a big boxy t-shirt, then we just look sloppy. But guys just look like they're wearing a t-shirt.
Yeah. Because
it's expected.
Men are sloppy, slouchy creatures, and we are. So
and it's expected.
proudly of that. Yeah. Accepted. So no, I think absolutely. And that's just one of those weird things about the differences in carry for men and women. Well, so again, back to the idea of on-body carry. Men generally, I'm not going to throw a gun in a sling bag or anything like that unless we're going out hiking or, wandering around somewhere that, a gun's not forbidden, but it wouldn't be practical to have it on my person. Why is on-body carry such an important practice for women to adopt in your experience?
Well, personally, I've never been a big fan of carrying a purse, stop, end of story.
Right.
Same,
at this point, I'm like, most of my purse is taken up by a personal medical kit.
Nice.
My kids are very accident prone.
Okay.
So many Band-Aids.
Right.
I'm like, you are old enough to not do this anymore. I don't know. But if I didn't carry that, everything would be in pockets, or I just wouldn't bring it.
Yeah.
And concealing off body takes more practice than any other carry method. It requires constant attention to your purse, backpack, sling, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go to the break room and leave it at your desk at work, that's just not an option if you want to be responsible. So it's just not something that I've really done. I did recently pick up a few off-body options, but they're last resort. Nothing else is possible. I absolutely have to have my gun. But, I think I'm going to wear a bodysuit today. Carry options for me.
I do that often.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, are there any other settings that might dictate, when an off-body carry is essential, or?
Usually if I have an outfit that I can't conceal on my body in, I'll reserve it for times where I'm not going to be carrying anyway. Like if I'm going to California, if I'm going somewhere where I'll be drinking a lot, things like that.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I do have clothing that I can't conceal in, and I hold on to it for those times where I know I'm not going to take a gun anyway. And so I don't worry about it.
Yeah. I think, common thread there. If I go to California, I'm drinking a lot too. So I completely understand that. And I might even wear a bodysuit depending on how it pans out for that trip. But yeah. Yeah. So,
I know for me, with having little kids, my purse is still very much a diaper bag. And when you're, at the park and at play dates and stuff, you never know who's going to be grabbing your bag, because there's always going to be a kid looking for a snack, or, somebody reaching to grab a diaper for you, or, your kid trying to find your cell phone or something. So it also is just nice that I know that it's not anywhere that's going to be accessible to, people that shouldn't be touching it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking even like for guys, I've got my Vertex backpack over here on the floor behind me. And, I carry that thing to work all the time. Shove a laptop computer in it, a couple, power supplies, whatever else, portfolio for work, dump it all in there. I'm taking that thing to meetings because, at my office, the building is massive, and I may not be at my desk except for 2 times during the day, in the morning when I get there, and in the afternoon when I'm getting ready to, gather up my stuff and go home. So the bag goes with me. It's my portable office, but there are times that I'm going to leave that bag at the desk. Now at my employer, you can't carry a gun there either. This backpack, of course, has, areas in it that you could, but I'm not willing to risk it because, like you said, I don't necessarily want to leave it, unattended. That would be irresponsible to do that. And I'm still trying to figure out what practical application for me, the holster option for that backpack would have. Unless it's, out hiking on a trail or we're traveling, perhaps, maybe that makes sense.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up too. The one time that I do off-body carry a lot of times is in the car. If I'm just going to go through a drive-through or going to pick up groceries, because I don't go into grocery stores, I do grocery pickup. So I don't actually leave the car. And so it's actually easier to reach the gun in the the what's that thing called? The armrest compartment thing?
The center compartment.
Center console.
Yeah, center console.
That's it, center console. It's easier to reach it there than it would be on my hips, strapped in behind my jacket and my seatbelt.
Yeah.
And my kids are both strapped in. They ain't getting out. So I'm not worried about them in that situation. So that's one time when I would not put it on my body, but I would still have it accessible and handy.
Right. Okay. Hey folks, David here. By now, regular listeners of the show are well acquainted with Mark and our friends over at Squared Away Customs. You already know that they are a manufacturer of high-quality custom Kydex holsters and carry gear for civilians, military, and law enforcement. But what you might not know is that Squared Away Customs is also your one-stop source for weapon-mounted lights and other firearms accessories. Mark, Corey, and the gang are now also stocking dealer for Polymer 80 frames and slides, and of course, have holsters to fit. What is Polymer 80, you ask? They are 80% complete polymer frames that you finish out with Glock pistol components. Because you're building it, there's no serial number, no FFL required, and no registration needed. It's a great way to build a custom Glock-style pistol of your own creation. Squared Away Customs offers Polymer 80 frames compatible with Glock model 17, 19, 22, 23, 26, 27, 34, and 35 Generation 3 components. They come in 2 different grip styles and include features like an extended beaver tail, double undercut trigger guard, and a thumb ledge already built in. So, if you're looking for the next level of customization and performance from the Glock platform, head over to squaredawaycustoms.com and check out their Polymer 80 accessories and, of course, their Squared Away Customs Polymer 80 custom holsters today. All right, everybody, we're back from a short break, and more than halfway through the episode is probably not the right time to ask your guests, am I pronouncing your name correctly? And so, Sandy, do you want to go ahead and do it? Go and gloat for everybody on the podcast.
He is not.
I'm not pronouncing it correctly?
He's not been pronouncing her name correctly, and she is so gracious and so sweet that she didn't even correct you when she should have. She should have been like, hey, Jack, you're pronouncing my name wrong, completely, totally wrong. It's Noel, and I am so sorry for that. I suck as a host. I should have completely asked you to begin with. And we had this conversation before we ever did the interview because he said it. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to gloat. You need to get this out. You need to get this completely out of your system. And I said, isn't it Noel? And he said, no, that's not how you spell Noel. And I was like, it is. Now I have to explain that. The first Noel, like we don't say the first Noel. You might. I'm from Kentucky. Are either one of you from Kentucky? Because if you aren't, you don't know how we pronounce it in Kentucky. I'm from Tennessee. We pronounce everything wrong. I know how to say Noel.
Oh my God. So I have to explain that because there's an arrogance implied that I know how to pronounce it. That's not how you spell Noel. So as I was telling Noel a moment ago while you were off doing whatever, preparing your I'm right speech, I explained to her that my second oldest child, my oldest daughter's middle name is Noel, and because we're from Kentucky, we have to throw an extra ELLE or something on there, and so hers is spelled differently.
Yes.
And furthermore, to substantiate why I'm not a complete douche, is that I had a boss who was Noel, and it was spelled exactly the same way. So,
was that boss male or female?
She was female.
Okay. All right.
Right.
All right.
So
it's fine.
There you go. But I'm not trying to keep you from being right. Do you want to enjoy your rightness for just a few more seconds, or can we get back to the interview?
You should just apologize and let's move on.
Noel, I am very sorry. I hope that,
No, it's really okay. I take my cue from there's a hockey player. His name is Connor Sherry, and for years everyone said his name's Sherry until I don't know if it was last year or the year before that. He finally said, "Okay, it's Sherry. I'm okay," but my parents were a little fussed about it. So.
Right. Oh God. So no, Sandy, I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to edit everything that I said through this, and that would sound terrible. It would sound terrible.
It would.
Do you realize what that would sound like?
Yes.
It would sound like a Mad Libs episode.
Yes.
Where you fill in the blank. That's ridiculous.
Welcome to the show, Noel.
Oh God. All right. Well, this is going swimmingly well for me today.
Right.
So this is all Mark's fault.
We're just going to gang up on you.
Mark would have. Yeah,
let's blame Mark.
Yeah,
we haven't blamed Mark for anything yet.
No,
so
we haven't.
we definitely
completely.
should.
This is Mark's fault.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. So, right before the break, we were talking about on-body carry and why that's important to you, Noel. I'm going to just use this awkwardly, like they say the first time you meet somebody, you should repeat their name
over and over
and over so you get it. But you were saying that you explained to us why that's important to you, and completely get it, completely resonates with me. I think that the next place I wanted to go with that questioning was, it seems like historically firearms and related holsters and gear and so forth, they've been designed with men first, if there was even a consideration at all of the female shooter in mind. And as I was thinking through that, I thought, well, you've always had the professional gunslinger women, the FBI agents and the police. Now, police officers, totally different. That's outside the waistband carry. It's part of their bat belt, their Batman utility belt, right? But for an undercover agent of some sort, she's just going to probably make do with whatever holster was available. But it's changing, right? So, Noel, what in your view, what challenges has historically been presented to the woman who wanted to carry a gun? And I guess think back 3 years, even further back with you and your journey. What was a big barrier for you?
Well, the biggest thing that comes to mind is that traditionally men wear belts. I know several men who don't carry, but they feel strange if they don't have a belt on, because they were taught their whole lives, if you don't have a belt on, you don't look dressed. We just, as women, we aren't raised with the expectation of adding a belt to an outfit. Before I started carrying, I had 2 belts. I had a dress belt for slacks, for nice meetings. And I had a $5 fake leather belt for pretty much anything else I happened to need a belt for. It's super flimsy, doesn't do anything. I destroyed it at this point.
Yeah.
And now I have at least 5 belts, 2 of which are specifically gun belts. I can talk about cute prints on holsters and subcompacts and how that has grown so much. I could do that, all day long and twice on Sunday, but nothing compares to the idea that you absolutely have to wear a belt while you're carrying, And I use the hashtag wear a bleep belt for a reason.
Right.
I love that hashtag.
Right.
I did not realize this far into my journey that hashtags would be such a big part of my life. Just as a side note. But I really wouldn't carry anything but a single stack subcompact without a belt.
Mm-hmm.
But they're one of the biggest issues that that women have.
Yeah.
Because it's just expected.
Right.
Oh, you want to conceal, you have to wear a belt.
Mhm.
Well, no, you really don't some of the time.
Yeah. So that's good that you have numerous belts and some gun specific belts. I don't think, Sandy, we've not really picked up a gun specific belt for you yet, have we?
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And I still run into the problem that they don't make women's pants with belt loops that will accommodate most gun belts. They literally make the belt loops smaller.
Right.
So unless it's a very slim gun belt, it's not even going to go through my pants.
Yeah. Tatiana Whitlock was talking about that on the episode that she did with us about the, most gun belts are 1.5 inches to 1.7 inches, or 1.75 inches, width.
And most women's pants are made for like a 3/4 inch or maybe a 1 inch belt.
Right.
And they literally just don't fit.
I wonder, are you guys seeing, some thinner gun belts? Because, materials matter. And if you get the $5 fake leather belt that you were talking about a second, that definitely is not going to have the strength and the rigidity to hold up a, 1 to 2 pound firearm. But, I'm seeing more of this really rigid nylon and other synthetic materials or leather with, even like metal strips, spring steel strips, which is weird, right? They're sandwiching the steel strip in between the two pieces of leather to make the belt.
That's interesting.
And it adds some rigidity to it, right? So have y'all seen that kind of stuff becoming more popular for women, or is that something that the manufacturers really ought to look into?
Honestly, I think that would be something that, manufacturers should start looking into a little more. There's a couple of really great belt companies. One Shot Industries has a ladies low pro belt that I've never heard a bad thing about. I haven't tried one myself, but I've heard fantastic things about those. I have one that doesn't have a buckle. I hate belt buckles, just personal.
Yeah.
But I have one that is, it's a little thicker, but it's not terrible. And then Black Arch Holsters makes one that's kind of I wouldn't wear it with dress pants, but casual clothing. It's a lot thinner. It's just kind of almost a polymer material. I'm not sure how to describe it.
Interesting. Yeah, that sounds kind of like the one that Boxer Tactical made for a long while, the Apogee belt. It was kind of a synthetic material. You could do it with jeans or with dress pants, either way. So it kind of sounds similar to that. So, that, I don't know, just it seems like maybe there's still a niche that, is waiting for some manufacturers to fill, for the female shooter and in particular belts.
Maybe a little bit, but honestly, I think that where the industry needs to go is more ways for a woman to carry without wearing a belt, because it still comes down to women's fashions at the time.
Right.
And those just really aren't in style.
Yeah, agree. And for men, it just simply is.
Yeah, it always is. It's it's like brown leather shoes. They're never not going to be in style for guys.
Yeah, the guys I see not wearing belts, if they're not in scrubs, they ought to be wearing belts, right? Because nobody wants to see the plumber crack.
Yeah.
And so, nobody wants to see that. Not at all. If I see that at the range, I'm trying to throw spent casings into it. So that'll teach you from stealing my brass. Bend over to pick up that. See, I can throw some casings in there for you. So, are there any particular challenges from the perspective of the hardware available? And when I say hardware, I'm thinking like, not just holsters and belts, but just anything for the female shooter, even the guns themselves. Are there any challenges there that you've identified that you wish the manufacturers would start to work on?
In terms of, holsters, it's figuring out what's safe and usable.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to have something you can pull the trigger through. You don't want to have something you can, you can just pull off your pants.
Right.
But Really, the gun manufacturers have started to really looking into. Oh my goodness! Let me do that again.
Yeah, sure, not a problem. Yep.
So, gun manufacturers have really done a lot of work into getting subcompacts that are comfortable to shoot and will conceal more easily for women. I started out carrying a P238. I love that little gun. As far as little guns, it's one of the better ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good ergonomics in those.
But it's not the greatest to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are. But you've got SIG, they're coming out with the P365.
Mm-hmm.
Glock's got a couple of really exciting, the 43 is I actually just shot one last weekend and I really didn't like it. But
oh, really? Okay. Yeah.
I'm used to my gun has a little bit of a thicker grip, and anyway.
Gotcha.
I'm not a Glock girl either.
No,
they don't work with my hands.
I'm going to get to the point. We're going to ask you about your gun,
yeah,
we'll talk about that in a sec.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, a lot of manufacturers have done a little bit of a better job in catering to women who shoot and who want to conceal.
Mm-hmm.
I've started to see a lot more of the ergonomic, smaller grips for smaller hands. We're smaller people. We have small hands.
Right.
Yeah. The having the interchangeability is awesome.
Yeah.
With the back straps and stuff.
So I don't necessarily want to tip off yet what you carry, because that's always a fun question. And I'm holding that in reserve. I want to make the listener, they have to wait for that. They have to want it. Right. But are you guys drawn in any way in particular to single stack guns now that that's becoming more of a thing, right? Because single stack, it was the thing before, and then double stack became more the norm, and now we're starting to see single stack again with the Glock 43 and the 48s and all that stuff. Where do you fall with single stack versus double stack, or is it really more just about, I don't care, I just want the grip to fit my hand?
Well, I do just want the grip to fit my hand.
Mm-hmm.
First off, that's my number one.
Okay.
Is it needs to feel comfortable. But I love shooting double stacks more.
Okay.
If I could just shoot a double stack gun all day long, I would.
Mm-hmm. Is it just for me personally, if I'm shooting like a SIG 365 or a M&P Shield, it's almost a little too thin, right? And that causes a comfort issue when I'm shooting. I don't want to shoot that very much.
Mm-hmm.
I shoot it a couple times, make sure I'm I don't suck with it, and then it goes back in the carry bag or whatever, the range bag, and then I go back to my double stack. Is it kind of the same for you, where it's a comfort issue when you're shooting a thin gun?
Yeah, double stack guns tend to be heavier.
Mm-hmm.
So you have, less felt recoil. They do feel a little more comfortable in your hand.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my personal perspective on it at this point in my life.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think when you're talking about what you're going to carry, though, for women, concealability is such a huge factor.
That's still king.
That a lot of women will choose to carry something smaller than they would even want to shoot at the range a lot, just because they're more conscious about someone seeing it.
Yeah.
And knowing what it is. And also the weight of it is a factor for women carrying, because we don't have the 2-inch, thick solid leather belt to mount it on.
Yeah.
Even best case scenario, we have a 1-inch, base for it. And so just keeping it secure is something that, those extra few rounds add that much more weight to it, and make it more floppy and make it harder to control on your waistline.
Yeah, I think, it's a weird dichotomy, is that we want the weight of the gun when we're shooting it, because that helps with recoil management and it just feels more substantial, right? But we don't want the weight of the gun when it's on our hip or in our waistband or whatever else. So, man, if a firearms manufacturer could crack that one, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But hey, big thumbs up to both of you, because neither one of you said, I just love the heck out of my J-frame 38 revolver, because
Oh,
yeah.
No, but you know that's where I started.
Well,
And you condoned it. It's fine.
But at the time there weren't many good options for you.
That's true.
A single
as far
stack
as small, yeah.
9 or a small 9mm,
Mhm.
it was going to be like a car PM9, and those don't feel like small. They don't feel good when you shoot them. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's the metal backstrap or whatever else, but it's a not a fun gun to shoot. And for a woman that wanted a smaller gun, you didn't have very many options. It was a J-frame snub nose revolver.
Yeah, and I mean, think about it as far as the shape of a J-frame snub nose revolver.
Yeah,
it's curvy.
Yeah,
it was much easier to conceal, and so that was my first concern when starting to carry was who's going to see it,
right?
And so picking something like that was more easy to camouflage on my body.
Yeah,
just gave me the confidence that I needed to start carrying.
Right.
And then I moved on to other things.
Yeah, but the holster manufacturers,
that you didn't like,
we can thank them for having made improvements in concealability for small semi-automatic handguns for women, especially.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Although a lot of holsters are difficult for women to wear because of the, like you were saying, the thinness of our fabrics. I mean, I've had a hard, Kydex holsters that almost rubbed a hole in my pants wearing at one time. Because the edges were too rough, too sharp. And it didn't feel like that in your hand. But when you put it on a very, I don't want to say slinky. I'm not wearing slinky clothes, but you know how thin, it's thin and it's like 40% spandex because everything we wear has to be stretchy. Then it cuts through.
Yeah.
Our fabrics aren't made to hold something like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right.
Oh yeah. I joke that my undershirts have been sacrificed to the deity of the sights.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I can't tell you
so
how many
tiny holes.
Yeah. I've got t-shirts that they all have holes right where the sights of the gun are. And I know it. I can relate to that completely.
Yeah. And even that's something small that's going to affect the choices that we make as far as how, the profile and the, just the harshness, because you want to be comfortable. I mean, I know carrying guns not comfortable and you have to get over that a little bit, but you also don't want something that's stabbing you or, scraping your arm every time you move it across the back of the gun. So,
yeah, there is so much good information here from manufacturers. They should like pay for this episode.
I know, right?
This is market research for them that they're not having to do themselves. So, well, so let's kind of take that angle. Noelle, what would you like to see further improve in the industry moving forward? Like if you were queen for a day and you could issue a mandate for all the firearms manufacturers and gear manufacturers out there, what would you ask them to focus on in the time ahead to improve it for women?
Well, I'd love to see, the continuation of the, improved attention to safety. Like Sandy was saying, more options for not carrying with a belt. And I have seen a lot more of that, here and there, kind of almost belly band like, but not quite. Just holsters that aren't dependent on what type of pants you have on.
Yeah.
Which is nice. So I'd love to see that more, along with more acknowledgement that, sometimes there are women who like when I want to carry a double stack, that I can do that maybe without wearing a belt, which isn't really safe at the moment. Keep making it easier for us to carry smaller weapons.
Yeah. No, I think that's very key.
Higher round count.
For me, it's the sharp edges. If they could do more work of contouring the weapon, just like you contour a car, but shaving off some of those really hard, sharp corners, Glock, it would make it so much more easy for a woman to conceal it.
Yeah.
Because those sharp points just stick off of our body so like a red flag. And even if most people aren't going to expect a woman to carry right now, so probably it's all in our heads. And if someone actually looked at it, they would just be like, "You kind of lumpy." They're not going to think, "Oh my gosh, she's got a gun." But it's that you have to have that confidence to carry. Yeah. And so being able to look in the mirror and not see a sharp right angle sticking off of my right hip is going to give me more confidence to walk out the door with it there.
Well, I think maybe the key point there is that all of us, men, women alike, when we look at ourselves in the mirror and we're carrying a gun, if we can see anything at all, we're probably seeing something that the vast majority of people we encounter in the day aren't even going to notice.
Mm-hmm.
If, however, we can't see a single sign of it, man, we're golden, because nobody's going to notice that, right? Let me ask a question also about the industry. So, you ladies are looking at products from different manufacturers or different types of products than I do, and our male listeners do probably. What are you seeing there over the past few years as far as, are these manufacturers coming to the table willingly, or are they having to be dragged kicking and screaming? And maybe segue into, are there any vendors and manufacturers that are, just great to work with from the female shooter's perspective? It's a two-part question. Sorry about that.
So first part, it really depends on the manufacturer.
Okay.
Some of them have had to be dragged kicking and screaming and have not even gone very far.
Mm-hmm.
Some have seen this as an opportunity to, make money.
Sure.
Which, let's be honest, it is.
Sure.
There's always the thought that women are the fastest growing segment of gun owners and concealers and everything. So
statistically, that is very true.
Mm-hmm.
You all definitely are the fastest growing segment.
It's because we're awesome.
You are awesome.
But 5'11", it's really funny. I did a survey at work and they asked me what clothing company had a lot of my money. And I was like, oh, well, that's going to have to be 5'11", because I've got their jeans. I've got range pants. I've got range tights. I have a jacket,
Yeah.
I'm like, these people have so much money of mine.
Right.
So they've really kind of led the charge in terms of clothing for women who would like to conceal and who would like to shoot, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other things that are coming out, of course, as well. But the fact that there have been some of the manufacturers that have had, have just completely denied the existence of women in the gun industry, it's left kind of a gap. There's some really great women-owned companies. Dene has been around for a really long time. Flashbang. But some of the newer, well, I say newer, like Can has been around for a little while. But Alexo Athletica, Southern Bullets, she does, a great line of fabric clip holsters. There's Fancy Pants holsters. She's, just a mom who sews all her own stuff. But there are some companies owned by men that have joined us.
Mm-hmm.
Neo Mag. It's one of the best ways to carry a spare magazine as a woman, I think, as long as you ignore the holes that I've cut in pockets to accommodate that. I buy my pants now based on pockets and belt loops.
We've talked about that before, women's pockets are not made to carry anything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know why they put them there.
Like a stick of juicy fruit gum, and that's it.
Maybe a tube of chapstick. Even that you can see sometimes.
Yeah.
Right? This is not functional. Why is it here? Or the fake pockets. My stepdaughter has a couple of pair of pants that just have like the fake pockets sewn into them. I don't have any of those.
My daughter gets so mad when she doesn't have real pockets. Like, where am I going to put my rocks, Mom? This is not a real pocket.
I love it.
Oh God. She's armed already with rocks. That's fantastic. Are there any of these manufacturers that you've been able to work with yet, or have you got any relationships that you want to call out there? Thanks or anything like that?
Well, Black Arch they've been really, really very supportive. When I got one of my guns, I'm like, oh, we're teasing this. When I got one of them, I reached out to them and I said, hey, I'm getting this gun. Do you have a mold for it?
Nice.
They rushed something for me so I could as soon as I was ready and comfortable carrying it, that I could.
That's awesome.
Which was fantastic.
I love
they're
it.
really nice guys. They're based, about an hour away from me. So.
Okay.
That's awesome.
No,
Yeah, I mean, I will say women are kind of, I don't want to say anything bad about women, but we're sort of like on demand. Like this whole,
What?
let's
I'm very
wait
much
for,
on demand.
You
too.
are, but most guys are not, they're not shoppers. Women are shoppers. Like I want to click, I want to buy. And there's a lot of times a long wait to get a holster.
Yeah.
And I'm going to scroll right past that. Like 4 months delivery time.
Yeah.
Screw that.
No, I'm with you. I mean that you kind of like we have a common spirit animal because man, when I'm shopping for a gun, I'm already shopping for the holster, and sometimes I'll buy the holster before I even order the gun. And it's kind of like because I want it right now. When that gun comes in, we're going to town with that thing. I want to.
That's usually how I find out he's getting a new gun is because the holster shows up for it.
That's true.
What is this?
What is this holster for? Well,
I am so proud of the fact that you're now able to identify, guns based off of holster profiles. A little sad because that ruins my gig, but yeah. Oh well.
You might have bought too many.
Maybe. I don't know. I've got a holster box. I got a box full of holsters. I love it. Boxes of holsters. It's lovely.
I'm all the time telling him, like, you need to go, because I know you don't have some of those guns anymore. You really got to clean this thing out.
But you never know when one of them might come back.
That's true. We've had a few recycle.
That's right. All right. So we've teased this enough. I'm going to ask you the fun question. Or maybe, Sandy, no, I'm going to ask it. I'm greedy. I'm going to ask the question.
Go for it.
You can ask another question. So, Noelle, what do you carry? What is there any particular go-to handgun that you have, or handguns plural?
So I am a Walther Arms girl.
Okay, all right.
I love them. I have a PPSM2.
Okay.
It's really, really concealable. It doesn't have a lot of those sharp edges like the Glocks do.
Yeah, those things. Yeah.
And I have a PPQ-M2, and I love that gun. I love that gun so much.
Yeah. They've got some of the best triggers of any semi-automatic handgun out there, period. Like all the Glock fanboys love the Glock trigger feel until you hand them one of those and they're like, oh, this is nice. I mean, they got a fantastic freaking trigger on those things. So much respect for the Walther, and virtual fist bump across the internet for not being a Glock person, because
I've actually converted my fiance from being a Glock guy.
Have you really?
It's fantastic.
So what's he carrying now? Is he got a PPQ also, or what's he doing?
He wants one.
Yeah.
He does not have one as of yet. It's on the list of things to get him.
Gotcha.
He just, since he can't carry it at work,
right,
or even in his car at work.
Oh no.
It's it's kind of, if we're out, I'm usually the one that's carrying. So
rock on. I like that.
That's nice.
Yeah, that is good. There maybe
a handful of times,
a handful of occasions where I couldn't, and I knew that Sandy did, and the agreement was I was going to run, and she couldn't hold her ground. So,
well, the agreement was you take the kids.
Okay,
whoever's not shooting is responsible for the kids.
Right, but the implied thing is I'm going to run, and you're gonna hold your ground,
and I'm going to provide cover fire.
That's right.
Okay,
I will tell your story later.
Thanks.
So yeah, no, that's awesome. So the PPQ, fantastic. I think, yeah, absolutely, the first person on Shooters Nation that has been a PPQ person, and I'm happy about that. That is really cool. I've wanted one of those before. We've looked at those.
I knew this is where this conversation was going to go. Yeah.
So
you should try one of those.
That's exactly where I was headed.
We'll be at the gun store.
I'm glad that you agree that you should try one of those. So,
well, they are doing a try it, love it. If you don't love it, send it back.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
Can you imagine sending back a gun?
No,
seriously,
I cannot.
If it makes it into this house, it's not.
That's not the way that works ever around here. But
no.
I think we should go look at one of those. I think that's a good thing. Thank you, Noelle. I appreciate that.
So, do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite? I haven't bought a gun lately. That's a relative term. Do you have a favorite range toy? Do you have one that you just love to take to the range and just have fun with that you don't carry?
I don't. I just take what I carry to the range. In terms of accessories that I take to the range, I love my Uplula, but
me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's going everywhere.
Yeah.
We went to the range and we were in Texas and we went to the range and I didn't have it. And it made me very, very sad.
Yeah.
But, for the most part, I don't have a lot of toys that I'll take that I don't carry because I don't really see a need for it.
I like it.
Which,
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That's why I've got so many extra holsters laying around. It's much the same. If it's just a safe queen, it generally disappears sooner or later. So, except for the 1911, I keep it around just to remind myself that we won 2 world wars with that thing.
You just
Not
keep
really.
telling yourself that.
Yeah, whatever. All right. No, I'm with you on the up Lula. That is, and the mag Lulas both.
That's a
freaking love 'em.
must for me because I literally, I struggle with my joints sometimes anyway, but I there's times that I cannot actually load a mag by hand.
Magazine design has gotten to be, it's a science and an art, and some of these things have got such hard springs in them, it's impossible to load it fully without some sort of assistance or, Shrek thumbs. So
yeah, I've also cut my fingers on them before too.
Yeah.
Trying to do it by hand.
So second question I've got for you about what you carry and how you carry is how do you carry it? Are there any favorite methods or holsters that you're using?
So I do. I'm a big fan of cross draw appendix.
Nice. Okay.
And I just building off of that, it's easier for me as a woman who is curvy to conceal the grip if I have it on the bulk of my body rather than off to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I have, thigh carry Thursday.
Thigh carry
Nice.
Thursday.
Or thigh holster Thursday.
That's
That's
cool.
what I call it.
That is cool.
Everyone at work knows it's a Thursday because I'm wearing a skirt or a dress.
That's great.
Nice.
Although they just call it Skirt Thursday. So
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
they don't know.
That's one of the things I've noticed is that you really, you feature those, and I'm not aware of too many other folks on, social media, women, period. And men generally aren't going to do this unless they wear kilts, right? But, and good for them. But you're really making thigh carry work with the holsters that you've chosen. And, before I saw that, I didn't realize how viable of an option that is for women that want to carry. Mm-hmm. It's cool. It works really well for you.
Yeah, it's wonderful. And I've worked enough at it that I can actually do it one-handed a lot of the time. Long skirts I can do I can draw from a long skirt in the same amount of time it takes me to draw from inside the waistband.
Wow.
I was going to ask you that question. Do you practice? Do you practice at the range with live fire, or do you practice mostly in dry fire at home, getting your gun out of your holster?
So it depends on the range that I'm going to. Obviously some ranges won't let you draw from concealment, but most of the time it's dry fire at home.
Okay.
I like to practice, several times a week just to stay up on what I'm doing, because as a woman, I do carry in several different places. And so it's not going to be that same automatic response every time, like it is for a man who carries in the same spot every day.
Yeah. I love that's one of the reasons I like my can concealment holsters, because I can spin it around. So depending on what I'm wearing, I can wear it more crossbody style, or, on my right hip, or I can spin it around to the back too if I've got a flannel thrown over. That's really easy to just shove it to the back a little bit, and that way it's always there, and I don't have to have 7 different holsters to be able to do that. It's versatile.
I was actually interested in hearing how many higher incidences there are of men shooting themselves accidentally on the range if she was practicing concealing from thigh carry with a long skirt on the range. You would think that sooner or later 2 dudes are going to shoot each other accidentally because they're not focusing on their front sight. They're focusing on what's happening 2 lanes down.
And this is the reason that women struggle to carry.
This is true. Right? If more men would wear kilts to the range and practice thigh holster carry there,
support your woman.
It would normalize this.
Support your woman.
So guys,
wear the kilts.
Practice drawing from your thigh holster at the range, and make it normal so that the women in our lives can do the same without causing accidental discharges. That's creepy.
Let's okay.
I tried really hard not to make the AD joke, but it was there.
An
I had
hour
to
and
take
20
it.
minutes into this episode before that came out.
I
Thank
completely
you.
took that easy, low-hanging fruit, and I'm patting myself on the back. Oh my God! Are there anything else that you look for? Any other aspects of like holster choices, Noelle, that really make it or break it for you?
The biggest thing that I look for, especially since I do, the cross draw appendix, is the concealment wings.
Okay.
That's huge for me. It just pushes the grip right into my body. So it doesn't matter the holster that I'm looking at. I'm going to ask about a concealment wing. I'm going to look for proper retention. I don't want to be able to, I don't do handstands often, but if I do one, I don't want to lose my gun.
Yeah.
There are some, manufacturers also that'll put their logo on the clip, on the belt clip. And I'm like, why are you doing this? That's just going to stand out. Oh,
Right.
Hello, there's a clip over this belt. No,
Right.
no, thank you.
Right. Right. No, I thought the same thing. Why are you, if you're going to do it, at least make it the same color. If it's a black clip, leave the logo black and subdued. I don't want it don't paint it white where it jumps out at everybody. So
Black nail polish.
black nail polish. Well, I don't exactly have a whole lot of that. So
You can
Thank
pick
you
some
very
up when you
much.
get your kilt.
I guess so. God.
You just have to go to Hot Topic for that.
Right. Oh, hey, there you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Oh man. All right. Well, I guess maybe one of the last questions I had in mind for the how you carry what you carry. Can you walk the listeners through how you decide what to carry or how you decide how to carry? What are the considerations that come into play there when you're going out for the day? What dictates the what and how for you?
Well, usually it's what I'm wearing. The vast majority of my wardrobe at this point I can conceal in. So if I'm going to work, I know I can dress to what I'm doing at work. If I have a meeting or if there are people visiting, and I want to look nicer, I can do that. Or if I'm just, doing some grunt work, I can dress for that. If I'm going out with my fiance and I need to be fancy, then I can, dress to that. And if we're going to the hockey game, I can use a different setup.
Mm-hmm.
So, it really depends on what I'm doing that day. And then I just take a holster out of my little shoe bag holster rack.
Nice.
I got tired of digging through the box.
Right. Yeah. Less noisy, more stealthy to have a bag. So yeah.
They're all visible now.
Yeah, that's great.
I can see all of them. It's
That's
wonderful.
actually a really good idea. Oh, I like that idea.
Stop it.
No, wait. So tell me about this. I mean, it's kind of like, I'm envisioning like the shoe rack things that you hang on the back of a closet door, the little clear pockets. Is that where the holsters are all going?
That is exactly where the holsters are all going.
We're totally going shopping next.
I'm sorry, Sandy.
This is happening. This is a thing. Holster door. It's happening. Just embrace it.
You just make sure it's tall enough that our toddler's not
You
going to
just make
rearrange
sure that
it
there's
for
room
you.
in that holster door for a Walther PPQ. That's all I'm saying.
We'll have to find some double doors in the house for you. I don't know that one is going to be enough.
Oh my gosh. So
Yeah.
I'm curious. Have you had any social encounters where, you run into the hugger or something like that, and then they're like, oh, hey, you're carrying, or, anything funny like that happened to you?
Well, my brother also carries. And so occasionally, we'll hug and like our guns will hit each other.
Nice.
And we're like,
It's like a fist
hey, what's
bump.
happening?
That's right. Yeah.
But I was on my way home from the range one day. And so I was open carrying and I just went to the grocery store to pick something up. And I ran into my cousin and he was like, combat shopping?
Heck yes. Heck yes. Black Friday combat shopping. That could become a new tradition.
Well,
One way to get to
It
the front
was
line.
Mother's Day at the grocery store.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it was, it was a little bit of a madhouse.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're going to get first pick in line of the flowers or whatever for Mother's Day. Combat shopping, throw elbows, open carry. That is great. All right, so probably
No, I'm
what?
gonna.
You're
So
gonna what?
I'm gonna do this part.
Oh well, fine.
No, not your fun part. I'm gonna add to your notes.
Oh.
I'm going off script.
Well, we don't have scripts. We have guidelines.
Well,
happy little guidelines for things. Go ahead.
except for how to pronounce your guest's name.
Oh my God, you had 5 minutes to gloat about that, and that was a while ago.
I didn't use all of it though.
That was
I
years ago.
reserved just a little bit of time.
Nope.
So, I want to know why you started carrying.
Okay.
Can you tell us your why?
Yeah. So the fun, fluffy version is that I worked in an area when I started carrying. I worked in an area that was, very industrial. There was a halfway house for men down the street. I was taking the train, so I was walking about a mile each way. And my brother, who got me into it. He said, he was like, hey, you should really start carrying something. I don't care if it's pepper spray. I just want you to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the fun, fluffy answer. The slightly more deep answer is that I wanted to be able to protect myself because I am actually a victim of gun violence.
Mm-hmm.
I moved in with someone far, far before I should have, and we did not have a healthy relationship. And he, at one point, thought that I was cheating on him, or he was very, very drunk, and he actually does not remember this at all. But we were living in a basement apartment, and he got, like I said, he got very, very drunk and would not go to bed and just kept ranting about how I was cheating on him and how I should go to this other guy. And he took out his gun and he went upstairs and he put a bullet hole in my car.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It went through the air intake and into the battery. Thankfully, I could actually still drive the car.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to, get in. He came back in after he shot it, and he said, "See how it drives now." And that was, completely,
Wow,
completely logical for a drunk person, I'm sure.
Right.
He ended up going to jail, but I never wanted to feel that terror and that helplessness again, because guns have been in my life for most of my life, at least on the periphery.
Mm-hmm.
But I, growing up didn't really shoot a lot. So, I had no idea at that point. I just froze, and I never wanted to feel that again.
Yeah.
So that is the long, deep version.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you sharing that, because I've sadly, so many times that is the impetus for women to finally stand up and say, I want to be able to protect myself. And even if it's just having a gun in the home and not yet carrying it with them, it's like we've said over and over again, it's the great equalizer. It's the one thing that can give you some power over someone who is, bigger, stronger, faster than you are. And it's sad that so many women have experienced that in their lives. And, but it's good that you take that experience and you say, I want to make sure this doesn't happen again. I want to do something positive with it. And bringing other women along the ride is awesome. So I just want to say thank you for what you've done. It's something that is very impactful to me. And even just the fact that your photos are headless, it really makes me look at your picture and go, oh, that could be me. I could do that. It's very empowering to look at those photos and go, I could wear that to the park. I could wear that to the grocery store. I could wear that to work. I can do that. And to have that control back to your life is something that it's really priceless, to live without fear. So thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah. It's been a while. So
Yeah.
I sometimes I'm still like, oh, that happened to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. That is,
I think most women never, ever imagine that they would be in that situation. And it's something that can happen in a split second.
It can happen to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It can happen. It can happen to men. And thank you for sharing that. I think Sandy, you hit on something that I think you explained why the headless photo approach that Noelle uses is so powerful. Is that a woman can look at that and substitute her face, her head. That's that could easily be me, is what she's saying to herself. And even in this situation, your story that you just shared, that could easily be me. And it's powerful and it resonates very much so with anybody that has decided to carry take on the inconvenience and the uncomfort or the discomfort of carrying a gun. The old cliche, it's not supposed to be comfortable, it's supposed to be comforting, takes on a whole new meaning when you understand why. So, thank you. Golly, it's hard to follow that with my next question, but
I wanted to end on a light note. So
I'm going to ask anyway.
Yeah. We need to bring it up a little.
We'll bring it up a little bit. So in one of your photos, I saw that you were wearing a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles t-shirt. And very important question for me is, which turtle is your favorite and why?
I am, I love me some Donatello.
Okay.
He's smart. He's got a plan. If something needs to be invented, he's your guy. I grew up on the cartoon, the original one, the good one.
Yeah.
And, I don't even know how many times we watched the second. For some reason, we didn't have the first Ninja Turtles movie, but we had the second one. So that's got a special place in my heart. But yeah, Donatello's my guy.
Sandy, do you want to?
The second one was
Do you want to
better.
turtle out here?
Yeah, I'm really, a part of me is super happy that all of these shows are coming back around for my kids, but man, they're so different. It's so hard to watch, because I know how awesome the original was. And I've definitely been guilty of going on YouTube and finding the original ones just to show my daughter, this is what it's like. But yeah, it's totally worth it to hear her scream cowabunga and jump off the couch or something,
Yeah. Sandy, your favorite turtle?
Michelangelo.
Okay. Why?
Because pizza is my absolute favorite food.
Yeah,
so the
I'm with
fact that pizza is such a huge part of his life, I can totally relate to.
Yeah.
I had my one boy toy growing up. My one Ninja Turtles toy was it was a van, and it had a pizza launcher.
Oh, the pizza shooter.
Yeah. That was a prized possession in my house.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
None of my girlfriends could relate.
We should just make it a requirement that you can't come on this show anymore unless you've seen at least one episode of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon.
I like that requirement.
Period.
Yeah.
Right. So that's awesome. I love the fact that Donatello is your guy.
I do. That's very unique. I like that. And my daughter really likes him as well because she loves science and she loves inventing things. And so she relates to him as well. I like it.
Awesome. All right. So this is maybe my second favorite question of any episode that we do. The first one always being, the what do you carry? Because listeners love to hear that. But this is your chance to help make us a little bit smarter or maybe a little bit safer. So as we really wind down the episode, Noelle, is there anything that you would like to tell the listeners or your Instagram followers that would fall into that category, make us smarter or make us a little bit safer?
The biggest thing that I tell people and that I will always tell people is to practice. Dry fire. If you can't go to the range or, just draw, just practice your draw. You don't even have to do the dry fire, just draw, go to the range if you can, because it's a perishable skill. It's not something that's just you're going to learn how to do it and it'll be there for forever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's your gun's a tool. It's not an accessory. Especially when you see the like you said earlier, the people who are selling themselves, rather than, what they're doing. They tend to treat the gun as an accessory, and that's not what it is.
Good point.
It's not something you just toss in your purse and go. So, just like you follow the rules on the range, it's your responsibility to make sure that if you have to use your firearm, that you use it correctly, you use it safely. Yeah. No, that's
excellent.
Powerful. Yeah. That's excellent.
You're not letting 5-year-olds at the park
right.
dig through your purse and find your gun.
Yes. Right. I think so many people do exactly what you say. They purchase an item, they familiarize themselves. Maybe they go all in for a short period of time, a gun. And then after time, it kind of, wanes in popularity with them, and then they're on to the next big thing. But it's a responsibility to stay current with it and make sure that you can still, use it appropriately, and you remember which end to point downrange and all that stuff. So yeah, that's awesome. Tell us how folks can connect with you on social media. Where do they find you online?
Well, I'm most easily found on Instagram. Of course, I spend a lot more time there, and that's, at Concealed Carry Woman. But I also have a Facebook page. So I've got a lot of people that message me there. And I can also be reached by email, which is probably the least favorite option of everyone who talks to me. And that's just concealedcarrywoman@yahoo.com.
Awesome. Noelle, thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming on and joining us on the podcast. It's been a pleasure. I really, really, really cannot thank you enough for doing what you're doing and the way that you're doing it. I think that it's a very necessary bit of outreach. It's a very necessary form of empowerment, and hopefully it lowers the bar of admission for women that are just concerned or scared or uncertain about the whole armed lifestyle. And you've already told us exactly why it's important to have a means to protect yourself. So
yeah, thank you for making it normal.
Yeah.
I love the daily aspect of yours, because it's not, when you want to wear your gun. It's, okay, here's what I'm wearing today, and here's how I'm carrying my gun. The two go hand in hand. It's just like picking out, which underwear you're going to wear. They're going to have it.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not underwear. Not
That's reach into the drawer and grab them.
That's right. Just reach in. You don't. Yeah. It's not like you have the shoe rack holder of underwear. You reserve that for important things like holsters and Walther PPQs. So there you go. No, but thank you very much. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy and your expertise. And thank you for being willing to share that with us and with the listeners. I hope that the podcasting experience wasn't completely terrible for you. And
except for that first half where the host got your name wrong.
That guy from the first half is a terrible human being and should not be allowed back on the show again. So, but the guy that got your name right hopes that you'll come back anytime you want to. Reach out to us. Let us know if you ever want to come back and what you want to talk about. We will make it happen. I think this is a fantastic discussion, and I'm anxious to get the listeners listening to this and get their feedback. So thanks again.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm glad that we had Sandy here to co-host with you. And Mark's nice, but
he's okay.
I'm partial to Sandy.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You're now doubly welcome back on. So
and you're okay too, David.
I appreciate that.
I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's been a great experience.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. All right, everyone. What a great conversation with Noelle. We hope that you enjoyed that as much as we did. Sandy, thanks again for stepping in and helping host this episode. How do folks connect with you after the show?
So I have my own podcast project that I do with my own co-host, and it is Y'all Need Coffee and Jesus. It is a Christian women's podcast. It's not your ordinary Christian women's podcast. We talk more about or for women who felt like they've been excluded by the church at some point in their life. And we talk about a lot of things that most Christian women podcasts don't. So you can check out the show, Y'all Need Coffee and Jesus. And you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Y'all Need Coffee and Jesus. And my snarky co-host is tearing up Twitter at Coffee Y'all, if you want to join in the fun there.
Excellent. That might be the most times that Jesus has been mentioned in the closing comments of this show. So you now hold the record for that.
I will probably maintain that record for this topic.
At least in a positive way, right?
It's always fun to co-host your show, though. I am always available, as you know, my schedule, but it's really fun to step in and do this show, too. So
and our kids didn't burn down the house while we were doing that.
Everybody survived.
We were fine there, right? So, folks, if you want to connect with me after the show, you can email me at david@shootersnation.com, and you can find me on Instagram as @whiskeyandlead. And that's where you'll find pictures of all sorts of random stuff that I'm into. You'd never know what you're going to see there. Guns, cars, barbecue, bourbon, whiskey, more barbecue, more guns, more cars. That's about it. It's fun. A lot of America, a lot of manliness right there in one convenient location. Last but certainly not least, we want to thank you, the listener, for giving us a reason to do this. We appreciate your support and hope that you'll help spread the word about Shooters Nation. Tell your friends about the show. Share us out on social media. Paint our name on highway overpasses. Write us in on election ballots. And, of course, we love it when you give us a positive review on iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, etc. That's it, folks. We'll talk to you again soon. In the meantime, be safe out there.
The preceding segment was a production of the Shooters Nation podcast. Visit us online at shootersnation.com.